and welcome to a new video. I'm realizing now as I'm sitting down to pre-film this, my hair is going to be changing lengths as I'm pre-filming and currently filming. I think this video won't go up till I think end of October or maybe even November, and it's currently September. So if you've been watching my channel and my hair keeps changing, that's because I cut it in September, but I've been doing a lot of pre-filming, so just deal with it. Anyway, let's get into today's video. So, as of right now, I have been in quite a reading slump lately, and maybe by the time you're watching this, that is long gone. I've read whatever I want, and I'm just super happy reading books all the time. Currently, that is not the case. So I thought I would look back and share some of the books that in the past that have helped me get out of reading slumps. So if you are in the same position as me, it'll maybe help you a little bit. I currently don't have a book that's getting me out of this reading slump other than some reading novella or romance novellas that I've been reading. But maybe one of these will give me the inspiration to pick up a new book and get me out of a reading slump too. I don't know, but let's go ahead and get into my recommendations. First, when it comes to reading slumps, a lot of the time, for me, the problem is I'm trying to read a book that's too heavy for what my brain is capable of understanding at the time. So I usually try and switch gears and switch to something contemporary rather than fantasy. And one of my go-to authors for that is Christina Lauren. So if you like adult romance, I really enjoyed The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This is such a fun book. It is about characters whose names I do not remember, Olive and somebody else. It's not important. Ethan. And Olive is at her twin sister's wedding, and she is the maid of honor, and Ethan is the best man to her twin sister's fiance, husband. And everyone at this wedding, except for Olive and Ethan, get food poisoning from the meals that are served at the wedding. So Olive's sister gives her and the best man the honeymoon trip because they're not gonna be able to take it and everything's non-refundable. And she's like, you guys both deserve a vacation, just go. We'll be better and we'll take another trip later. So they go on this trip together, and it is absolutely hilarious. It has so many of my favorite tropes. It's like forced proximity and like a little bit of like hate to love, maybe more like dislike to love. And it's just so good. Christina Lauren, like, these women just know how to write characters that you will fall in love with no matter what. If you're looking for a YA version of a Christina Lauren book, you cannot go wrong with autobiography. This book, I've read this one multiple times. I love it more than anything in the world. Honestly, should I reread it? It's so good. It follows Tanner and another character, Sebastian. I'm not good at remembering names, can you tell? But Tanner and Sebastian are both living in Provo, Utah, and Tanner, who is the main character essentially, he was openly bisexual at his old school, and when they moved to Utah, he decided, you know what, I just need to finish high school, I'm not going to bring it up, I'm essentially going back in the closet for the time being, because Provo, Utah especially, is not the safest place to be openly out. It's just not. It is a very religious town. I've been there. Very conservative place. And he decides, you know what, I'm just going to ride out the rest of my high school career, keep quiet, and go to college and be fine. And then he meets the writing classes TA, a recently graduated high school student who sold a book, got a huge book deal, super popular, and has come back to help with this writing class where the goal of the class is to write a novel within like the quarter or the semester or whatever. And he is super attracted to this TA and wants to like flirt with him and ask him out and stuff, but isn't sure that would be accepted in this community. But they get to know each other and they start talking and everything, and he realizes that Sebastian is hiding a lot. But Sebastian is the son of the bishop, which, if you're unaware, is like one of the higher up people in the Mormon church. I'm not exactly sure of the hierarchy, I just know it's one of the higher up people in the church. And the Mormon church is not accepting of gay people usually. Obviously everyone's different, but on like a church level, I don't believe that they are. So Sebastian is struggling a lot with the trauma of his religious upbringing versus trying to figure out who he really is, and having all these feelings for Tanner and not knowing how to deal with them. And it's such a moving, emotional story, but it's also so well written and just such a good book. I love these characters so much. Obviously, Christina Lauren don't have this exact experience in their lives to draw from, but one of them, I believe, was a high school counselor in Utah, so she met a lot of students experiencing this pain, and it's really sad that religion can push this experience on kids and make them feel this pain. But books like this, I think that's why it's so important to read and be aware of it. And honestly, I just love this book so much. It's so well written. It means a lot to me and I really love it. And it just makes you keep reading. It is a book you cannot put down. So if you need to get out of a reading slump, I definitely recommend this one. One more contemporary recommendation is The Wedding Date by Jasmine Gillery, or any of the other books in this series, to be honest, but I still love this one, I think, the most. I also really like The Proposal and Party of Two. I love any of them, but this book is about Alexa and Drew, and in this book, I think it's Drew that needs a date to his friend's wedding, or his ex's wedding, I think, and he meets Alexa in an elevator and is just like, I really need a date to a wedding. You're here. You're beautiful. Will you please just come with me? This is gonna be terrible. And she's like, I guess, sure. And so that's their first date. And it is adorable and beautiful and I love it. And this was just so much fun. I wish I should probably read this again too. But I love this series. I love Jasmine's writing. She has a new book out and I have asked the library to buy it so I can read it. But I am so excited to share this series with you because I really think everyone should read it. A part of me feels like not a lot of people talk about this book, even though I know this series is super popular, but really, you'll need to read it. It is the perfect book to get you out of a reading slump. Great characters, great representation, and just a lot of fun. I discovered this author, I think, last summer, so I have loved her ever since I picked this one up. I've read almost all of her books, and she is really good. I lied, I have one more contemporary, and that is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Wong. I feel like recently I've been talking a lot about this book in my videos, but I just love it that much. This is such a well-written book. I am anxiously awaiting to read the third one. I have requested it on the library, and I'm like 100th in line. It's gonna be a while, but I love this book because it has incredible representation and such a unique story. This follows Stella and someone, I don't even know why I try to think of names. Michael. Michael is a male escort, and he is doing that to help pay off his mom's medical bills and earn money for the family. He also works as a tailor at their laundromat and or tailor shop. I don't know what you call that. I've never been to one, but and he meets Stella because she hires him, and she is feeling all this pressure from her family to get a boyfriend or get married, have babies, and she doesn't really understand how to do any of that. She has ASD and doesn't really understand the interworkings of relationships in that way and doesn't really want to deal with it. So she hires Michael and she asks him to teach her how to be good at sex and then how to be a good girlfriend. And it is just so much fun. It's so funny, so steamy, and I just love these characters so much. I've said it before and I'll say it again. This book needs to be a movie. It's fantastic. It'll get you out of a reading slump. The characters are amazing. I didn't like the second book as much, but I'm very excited for the third one. So read this book. It's so good. Next, I do have a couple fantasies, but even if sometimes fantasy isn't the right thing to read in a reading slump, but if you are in the mood for it, these are the ones that I think could easily pull you out of a reading slump, even though they're a little bit heavier. First, I have Crave by Tracy Wolff. This book, I will admit, took me longer than usual, than a book of this size to read, but it kept me wanting to read it the whole time because I was like, what the hell is going on? At no point did I know what was going on. I was always so confused, and frankly, I'm still like, wow, how did this happen? Oh, I forgot I had stickers in here. Or like, I guess these are probably little tattoos, huh? Oh yeah, I forgot I got this in like a box from the publisher. But this is a very fun book. It follows characters whose names I don't remember. Jackson, and it doesn't say her name on the front little thing, so I couldn't tell you what it is. It's not important. Anyway, there's this girl who I think she just lost her mom or her dad or possibly both, and so she moves in with another family member, I think it's her uncle, in Alaska to go to school at the boarding school that he runs, and she learns soon-ish into the book that this is not just any boarding school. It's a boarding school for monsters. Like, how could you not want to read that? It's a boarding school for monsters. So there's vampires, I think there's dragons, I think there's werewolves, there's witches, there's a lot. It's so much fun. I loved it so much. I love all the characters. Her roommate, who I think is her cousin, really enjoyed her. Jackson is the vampire love interest, who is just lots of fun. It's a really, really fun book, and it pulled me out of a reading slump when I read it a little bit, just because it was just fresh and new and exciting. And like, yeah, it was tropes we've seen before, but they're all tropes that I love. So I had a lot of fun reading this book. Next, another sci-fi-ish fantasy genre book, but this series, I love it. It is Cinder by Marissa Meyer. So this series, I read them pretty close together. Like, maybe not back to back, but I read them. This one I read in like 2019, and then the other ones I read later back to back. And this series, you can't put it down, because you need to know what's going to happen next. Like, it's absolutely necessary. Like, Winter, the last book, is what, 800 pages, and I read it in like 2 days because I could not put it down. And that's because this series is that good. I love all the characters. I love all the twists on the fairy tales. I love the adventure. It's just so good. If you don't know, Cinder is in a sci-fi future of the world. Part of it is in what will become New Beijing, but is where China is now. And then there's parts in France, but like this new France. I think there are references to the United States or to America, but I don't think they spend any time there really. But Cinder is a girl who is part cyborg, but she's like Cinderella, and she loses her foot instead of her shoe because her foot is a robot part. How cool is that? I mean, come on. And there is the Prince of New Beijing, and then they have a couple other fairy tale creatures as well, like Scarlet, who's Red Riding Hood, Cress, who is like Rapunzel, and Winter, who is like Snow White. And I loved it so much. This is an incredible story. I love all the characters. I love their relationships. And everything is so fast-paced, and there's always so many twists and turns, you just can't put it down. Next is one of my all-time favorite books that I truly think could get a lot of people out of a reading slump because it's just so good and you have to know how the mystery ends. So Stalking Jack the Ripper is a historical YA fiction that is one of the best books ever written, to be honest. It is my absolute favorite. I love it so much. It's basically my brand at this point, how much I love this book. I was thinking of doing a reread of it this, like mine's signed, how cute is that, of this month anyway. But this is about Audrey Rose, who is sort of displaced by her time because she is a woman and everything she wants to do is not something women are typically allowed to do in this time. This is the late 1880s, I think, late 1800s at least, and she wants to be a mortician. Basically, she wants to help with the police and look at dead bodies and discover what went wrong, do autopsies and stuff like her uncle does, but her father is like, no, you can't do that, it's too dangerous, it's not proper, blah blah blah. And so she does it anyway. She trains with her uncle, like when her father isn't there, and like overnight and stuff. So that is what she's doing with her life. It's fantastic, and through this is how she meets Thomas Cresswell, who is the love of my life and also a student that her uncle takes on as well, to train him to be a mortician, a scientist. And through this, they discover a crime that has been going on in the city that looks like Jack the Ripper. It's a retelling of the Jack the Ripper story. My camera cut me off a bit, but the point is, this book is amazing. I love it so much. If you haven't read it yet, please go read it. It is the best out there. I love it, and I think I'm gonna reread it this month if I can get the audiobook, or maybe I'll read it in paperback. I just haven't had a lot of time. Also, the best part of this book, pictures. The other ones don't have as many pictures, and you might not think that this picture of a human hand anatomized and preserved in the 19th century is cool, but I think that's pretty freaking cool. There's a lot of people who I know think that the pictures in this book are really gross, but look, I'm nothing if not a huge nerd. There's another picture in here I want to show you because it's my favorite. Well, here's a really cool one of an autopsy being done circa 1915. You probably think that's gross, but there's a really cool picture, I think that's in this one, of some of the tools that they would use in this time period, which is just astounding, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. And maybe it's in one of the other books. Well, I can't find it, but I promise you there's a picture in one of these books of the tools that they would use for an autopsy in this time period, and it's terrifying and fascinating, and you should read this series. Lastly, this list would not be a list made by me if it did not have historical romance and my go-to historical romance recommendation, and that is The Rogue of Fifth Avenue by Joanna Schube. Honestly, you could pick up almost any historical romance, and I think it would help you get out of a reading slump. Anything by Tessa Dare, anything by Joanna Shoop, maybe Lisa Kleypas, but I just always recommend this one because it's the best one out there. This series is incredible. Like, I cannot say that enough, and I've probably said it way too much on this channel, but The Rogue of Fifth Avenue by Joanna Shoop is the book. It's just the book. It'll help you get out of a reading slump. It'll help you fall in love with the romance genre. You will love Frank so much, and what's her name? Mamie. Mamie? I don't know how you say that, but I love her, and I love Frank in this book, and it's just such a fun book. And I love the setting of these books, and most of Joanna's books take place in Gilded Age New York, and I think that setting is what makes them so exciting to me, and just so much more approachable than some of the like more Victorian, Elizabethan, I don't know, eras that other historical romance books take place in, like Regency era stuff. I just named 3 eras like they're the same. I don't know, but Gilded Age New York is fun and exciting, and women are starting to have just a little bit more power. They're obviously not fully free, we still aren't, but it's very different than the courting and everything that you see in like England romances. That's why I love New York so much. They're so good. This is about the eldest sister in this family, I can't think of their names, the Green family, and she starts to fall for her father's lawyer, even though he's very notorious for not being the best person in the world, but I love him, and she basically is like, well, if I want to date you, I can because I said so, and that's basically the story, and I love it. They're such great characters, and Joanna Shoop just really knows how to write a romance. I love it, and I think you should read it too. Well, those are some of my book recommendations to hopefully get you out of a reading slump. I hope you enjoyed. If you are in a reading slump, definitely check some of these out, or even if you're not, check some of these out because they're all really incredible books. I hope you enjoyed this video. I upload every Sunday. Like, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!